Hey everyone, welcome back to How to Train Your Gavin. I have a really different kind of video for you today. Lately, I've been feeling a little bit, well, unmotivated, I guess uninspired to film, and I've been finding it really hard the past few weeks to sit down in front of the camera and give you a really great video, and I haven't felt that content creativity thing. I mean, this is not me saying I'm leaving booktube. Don't worry, I'm not leaving booktube. In fact, I have more things coming up that I'm really excited about that I can't quite share just yet. I mean, some people know, some people do know, there is more coming. Like, I am doing more dedicated reading videos, reading vlogs, recommendations. All of the videos are still coming to this channel, but I do have a little bit of a detour. There is a detour coming in 2021. So don't worry, this is not me saying that I'm changing my channel or anything like that. That's not happening. However, I am doing something that will take up a little bit more of my time. I feel like a lot of people know that I like to write, and I did used to write some stuff back in day, but it wasn't really anything like too serious for me. I wasn't really going out there to seriously get it published or anything. I was just writing things, loving what I would write, and publish it online. On Wattpad, I mainly published on Wattpad. This time, I am taking this very seriously. So, the title of the video, and why you clicked on this, at least I hope it's why you clicked on this, is that I am writing a middle grade novel. Yay! I feel like people, when they see me, they associate me with middle grade mostly than anything else, even though I think I've written about 10 books or something in the past, and none of them have been middle grade. All of them have been like young adult or adult, so this is actually quite new to me, and it's strange because I do predominantly read middle grade. I read everything, but I love reading middle grade, probably the most out of anything. So back in March 2020, although no, saying that, way before March 2020, I had, well, an idea. I was, okay, how do I start this? This is really hard to start. Like, how do people start these sit-down videos that have nothing to do with the channel? I've loved Disney since forever, and one thing I didn't love about Disney that much is that as I was growing up, I was never seeing myself in a movie. I would always see the princess fall in love with a prince, and I was just like, well, do princes not fall in love with princes? Like, what's going on? What I want to do, what I essentially want to do, is I want to do this big gay Disney retelling in middle grade. And I mean, you're probably thinking, gay Disney retelling, like what are you talking about? Like Aladdin, Frozen, Little Mermaid, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules? Yes, all of them. I'm not just doing one Disney film, I'm doing all of them. Okay, I feel like I need to slow down because I'm confusing everyone, including myself. Yeah, I'm really excited because I'm really excited to write it. Really hope I haven't chipped my tooth though. So just like going back a bit then, if I talk this through, it might also make sense to me. Like, the thing is though, I know exactly what I want to write. I know exactly the story. I've written a 31 chapter outline. I know exactly what happens in each chapter. I know where the story goes, and I'm so excited. I wrote like 25,000 words of the first draft that I'm scrapping. I'm starting from scratch, and I've already written 5,000 words of that new draft, and I'm loving it. But, so I know what this story is about. I just always have a hard time explaining it. But as I tell this story, you're probably going to think of different Disney films as I'm going through this, like, synopsis. This story is tentatively called Enchanted Dominion, and I know that's a Kingdom Hearts world. I know this. I love Kingdom Hearts so much, and that, again, that's another, like, Disney reference. But the title for now is Enchanted Dominion. I mean, I would love to try and make it a little bit more metaphorical to LGBTQ+, but I can't think of a better title right now. Anyway, we follow Prince Ericus, and he was born with these incredible magical powers. In order to protect him, because everybody in the Enchanted Dominions wants his power, in order to protect him, the king enlists the help of Selene the Sorceress, who places a sort of protection on him. So this protection means that Eric, when he's in his castle, within the castle walls, people can see him, but when he is outside of the castle walls, nobody can see him, and everyone believes him to be dead. So as Ericus is growing up, he reaches the ripe old age of 12, and he has been escaping into the nearby marketplace for a good few years with his magical talking cat called Cleo. So when Ericus is going out of the castle, he's invisible, nobody can see him. However, one day he gets into some trouble in the marketplace, and he runs into a nearby cathedral where he meets a boy who can see him. That's essentially the setup. That is the setup of it. I mean, of course, more stuff will happen after that. Like, when I say it's like a gay Disney middle grade, I just mean, like, I want to take the magic and the Disney nostalgia that people have towards the Walt Disney films and put it in a middle grade book where we have a main character who is gay and run with that. In this really enchanted kingdom full of magic and witches and dragons and gargoyles and all of that sort of stuff. So, I mean, the world will expand and all of that after that, but I do essentially want to have that kind of initial setup about Ericus being invisible to the world until he meets a boy who can actually see him, hear him. So that's essentially the story, and I think I will get better the more I talk about it. Like, I'm thinking of maybe having it as a series, maybe 3, maybe a trilogy. We'll see how we'll go with this one, of course. But that is why I have been a little bit flaky online and on my videos, because all I really want to do is write. I just want to write. I want to take this creativity and run with it, because I started a first draft of it in March 2020, started lockdown in the UK, and I only wrote 10 chapters, 10 or 11 chapters between March 2020 and last month. So that's like 14 months where I wrote only 25,000 words. I was taking month breaks between them and I was forgetting everything I was writing. So I want to really focus on this now and try and get something going. I finished 3 chapters. I'm exclusively sharing these chapters with my patrons, and they have really enjoyed what I've done so far. Like, they've been the best and the most supportive and so encouraging, so thank you so much. I'll continue sharing the chapters of this book with my patrons, and I can't wait to see what they think of the rest of it, because I do have the story. I have the story planned. I've got all the chapters planned. I'm excited. What I thought I would do actually was read the first chapter in this video and see if you guys would like it. Like, the rest of the chapters are still going to be exclusive to my patrons, and the very first draft is on Wattpad, but that's getting taken down because I'm not using that draft anymore. It's getting scrapped. I thought I would read the first chapter. If you don't want to listen, that's fine. I'm not an audiobook narrator at all, so this is going to be weird. But you know what? Well, like a bit of weirdness on this channel. But really, I just want to create something magical, something inclusive of the LGBTQ plus community, because with fantasy and middle grade, there really isn't a lot of LGBTQ plus representation out there. For fantasy, there's quite a bit of contemporary now for middle grade, but fantasy-wise, I want more. So you know what, the best thing to do is write it yourself. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to rip off Disney in the process. No, I've got my own story. It's my own story. I'm just taking elements of what people love about Disney movies and all of that kind of stuff and putting it into this. So I'm going to read the first chapter in just a second. What I'm doing for the chapters actually is I'm naming each chapter after a Disney song. So chapter 1 is called One Jump Ahead. You can probably get like a feeling from that if you're an Aladdin fan. Oh god, I feel weird. I feel so weird. How do authors do this? I mean, here's me calling myself an author. I'm just gonna be laughing throughout this, I just know it. Anyway, let's crack on. Oh, I don't know if I can do it. I'm just gonna laugh. But take it seriously, because I'm really serious about this. Chapter 1. One jump ahead. Prince Ericus of the Kingdom of Abitonia was forbidden from leaving the castle. Nobody was ever allowed to know about him. He has been told stories all his life of creatures and monsters all over the enchanted dominions that would snatch him if they ever knew he existed. The voice of Selene the sorceress echoed in his head. They want your magic, little prince. They must never take it. They must never take you. You must never leave the walls of this castle. It's your only protection. Ericus, sometimes referred to as Eric by the talking black and white cat he called his friend, pondered Selene's words as he dipped his head out carefully from behind the market stall. The cat walked out from between his legs. What are you doing? And I can't do voices, by the way. I'm not doing voices. Shush, Cleo, Eric whispered as he eyed the tall stall owner, who appeared to be punching something. The smell of fish wafted with every movement. You're going to give me away. This game got old about a year ago, Cleo said. They can't see you. No one can. That's only half the fun. You have to get into character. Would you like some fish? Cleo purred. My favourite meal. Then allow the ghost of the marketplace to work his magic. Eric tiptoed to the front of the stall. He waved his hand in front of the fishmonger. He didn't look in his direction. Nobody ever looked in his direction. Every time he stepped outside of his castle, he disappeared from everyone's sight. Everyone, that is, except Cleo. Can we move this along? Cleo asked. Eric lifted up a small fish from its tail and brought it up over his head. His movements were slow enough that the fishmonger didn't realise what was going on at first. Then the fishmonger's eyes widened, and then he screamed. Eric dropped the fish on the floor for Cleo before anyone else saw it float in midair. The fishmonger ran across the bustling marketplace and bumped into several shoppers along the way. The woman running the nearest stall tutted when she saw the cat and turned to her neighbour. That man really needs to sort out his fear of those cats. Why? I don't know why I've got an American. Those filthy beasts are everywhere. He'll be screaming every 5 minutes. Filthy beasts? Cleo yelled before adding some profanities, though the woman only heard meow meow over and over. Eric was the only person who could hear Cleo. Celine had once told him that animals cannot talk, which made him wonder if it was his magic that allowed him to hear her. He often wondered why he wasn't normal, like everyone else too. He waited for Cleo to finish her breakfast before leading her to the fountain in the centre of the marketplace. It was his favourite place in Abitonia, of which he hadn't visited much of it. Watching regular people go about their day was his favourite thing to do, all the while quietly observing how different their lives were. Cleo jumped onto the rim of the stone fountain, allowing Prince Ericus to sit beside her. He closed his eyes and dipped his head back, taking in all of the strange smells with a deep inhale. Be careful your crown doesn't fall into the water, your father would kill you if you lost it. Atop a head of springy caramel brown hair rested a small crown. Despite being half the size of the king's crown, of course, the prince's crown was a pattern of silver smooth thorns that knitted together until they met in the middle. Royal blue jewels encrusted the piece, and when the sun hit it, it could dazzle any passerby, if any passerby could see him. If they could see him, they would wonder why a small boy in a lavish tunic of golden lacework and rich embroidery was sitting open-legged on the edge of the fountain, acting as if he owned the place. He would tell them that actually he does own the place, or more so his father does, and they would tell him that his cloak, which would fall to his waist, was now soaking up the water from the fountain. The prince's forest green eyes flicked open when he heard the pub's door slam open. The entire kingdom of Abitonia was a bit odd, he thought. He could see the king's castle in the far distance, resting atop a steep mountain. Stone buildings spiraled down the mountain, covering every inch of it, leading to the marketplace. Stone houses and buildings boxed the marketplace in, though it was big enough for a huge assortment of wooden stalls. There was also a forest that ran parallel with the side of the mountain, starting at the castle before going down toward the open enchanted dominions. He could never venture further than the last patch of farmland in Abitonia. As much as he wanted to leave the kingdom and seek out adventure, he knew better than to brave the forests, jungles, deserts, mountains, and oceans that made up the extensive land beyond. A spell to bend your one-true love's will for 7 silver pieces? An old spell seller shouted, breaking Ericus away from his trance. Ericus loved that the marketplace sold anything from the mundane to the magical. He was tempted to take her up on the offer, though he had no one true love. If you don't stop yelling about your unusable spells, Agatha, I'm going to come over there and set your stall alight, a rowdy man yelled from a stall selling the daily paper. Agatha cackled. I say the love potion you bought last week didn't work, Jacob. That's a shame. My spells can change what's on the inside, but it can't change your face. There's only so much magic can do. Why, I oughta. The townspeople never failed to entertain Ericus and Cleo. They laughed when Jacob picked up one of his newspapers and tried to swat Agatha with it, but fell backwards when she opened a random bottle and threw its liquid contents at him. That was a cursed potion to make you go grey before your time, Agatha yelled. More like lime juice, you old bat. A tabby cat jumped up onto the fountain next to Cleo. She eyed him suspiciously and arched her back. The tabby cat moved forward, but Cleo hissed. He jumped back down with a meow. Maybe that rude lady before was right after all, she said. Ah, he just wanted to be your friend. Naive little prince. Eric ignored her as his eyes were drawn to an object at a nearby stall. It glistened in the sunlight, which was now at its peak in the midday sky. He stood, his wet cloak slapping into his back, and started to walk over to the object. Cleo followed without saying a word, or if she did, he didn't hear it. A peasant man walked dangerously close to him, and as they passed, the peasant man looked around, adamant that he felt some kind of breeze on this hot steel day. Then Eric approached the object. It was a necklace. It lay in the centre of a jewellery stall, its golden chain a perfect O shape on the wooden surface. The jewel at the end of the necklace reflected the sun above, except it wasn't a blinding yellow glow. No, it was a rainbow. A rainbow of colour burst from the jewel. Eric had never seen anything like it. He wasn't quite sure if anybody else could see it, but it was beautiful. So beautiful, in fact, that he picked it up without a second thought. Eric, what are you doing? The townspeople will see. A scream erupted from behind them. Ghost! You, Cleo finished. Eric broke out of his trance, just in time for the jewellery store owner to see the floating necklace. He winced and scrunched his eyes before any sound left her mouth, bracing for his scream. It's the ghost of the marketplace! He's back! Eric dropped the necklace back onto the stall, causing the woman to scream again. Oops, he muttered to Cleo, who stared up at him with the most unamused expression he had ever seen her wear. What's going on now? A deep voice asked from the direction of the pub. Several tall, blocky men pushed their way through a small crowd of people trying to run inside the pub. Eric gulped at the sheer size of them. Even from a distance they towered him, their shadows reaching him before he even had time to move. He had to remind himself that they couldn't see him, but they could still feel him if they got too close. He jumped out of the way when one of the men lunged for the stall. The man fell straight into the jewellery display. Cleo yelped and ran alongside Eric. More people were running around the square, making it hard for him to avoid people. Eric weaved past a couple of people before knocking into the third. They flew to the floor with a yell, alerting the men. Ghosts didn't appear to frighten them at all. Then Eric caused another person to suddenly fall back, and another. The men observed before giving chase, realising what was happening. "They're on our back," Cleo told the unsuspecting Eric. He was too busy trying to avoid people that he hadn't realised he was being followed. Another person fell into a barrel of apples. It almost toppled over, but it gave Eric an idea. Without wasting any time, he pushed the barrel over, causing the apples inside to spill out like marbles. It only slowed the men down by a few seconds. Eric didn't stick around to find that out, as he headed for one of the various side streets of the marketplace. A signpost pointed the way to the Gothic Quarter. Eric gulped as he skidded down the side street and up an adjacent alley, running straight into a man who toppled into a window, smashing it. "Sorry," he said, before remembering he wouldn't be able to hear him. The noise of the smashed glass alerted the brute men, and again Eric and Cleo took off down the alley. "The ghost has a cat," one of the men shouted. Eric looked at Cleo with wide eyes. "Don't leave me," Eric begged her, fear seeping into him. He knew she would want to go in a different direction to get them off the scent, but he has never been by himself in Abitonia before. The thought terrified him. "I won't leave you, but we need to find somewhere to hide." As if answering their prayers, they stumbled into a small square. It was lined with buildings that led to the towering cathedral as a centrepiece. The cathedral was massive. It was built with grey stone, and judging from the wear and tear, it was several centuries old. Ribbed vaults and flying buttresses decorated the outside, leading up to 2 bell towers on either side of the building. A huge contrast to the bustling marketplace, only a handful of people loitered in the square. With rags and dirty clothes covering most of them, Ericus assumed they were homeless. Cleo kept close to Ericus's ankles when a restless peasant looked over at her. They quickened their pace to the steps of the cathedral, of which he jumped up 2 steps at a time. The dark shadow of the cathedral blanketed the boy and his cat. The voices of the men forced them to run quicker for the massive wooden doors. Ericus looked up as he ascended, noticing a gargoyle above the door looking down at him. It was made of stone, and yet he couldn't help but feel like it was watching him. Its head appeared to move the closer he got to the door, and when he finally reached them, it was clear that the gargoyle had not moved at all. Just a trick of the light, he thought. Ericus took one last gulp before he pushed the doors open and stepped inside the entrance chamber. Dun dun dun! Okay, so that was the end of chapter 1, and I do have chapter 2, which is called God Help the Outcasts, and chapter 3, written and posted to my Patreon. You know what, actually I'm going to edit this video, and then I think I'm going to end up writing some more tonight. I just feel it. I feel like I should. You might think that was rubbish. Be honest, like, leave a comment down below, let me know if you thought it was rubbish. I don't mind. I love the feedback. But that was, I mean, this is my second draft now. That was the first chapter. Hopefully allowed you a little bit of a glance into the world, the characters mainly, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and it's honestly okay if you didn't. I don't mind. I don't mind if you didn't enjoy it, it's fine. But yeah, I'm just excited to write more of it. Even if nothing comes from it, I'm just happy to be able to channel this things in my brain into words. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. I feel like I might start doing some writing vlogs. I mean, I won't be publicly sharing any more chapters, just to my patrons, but I might do some like writing vlogs. I'll try and start doing some reading and writing sprints in the future as well, which, you know, I kind of do have some plans for, but again, I can't share just yet. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, leave all the comments, I'd love to read them, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!